Welcome to Pick Yourself Up show. I am Asagid Haftold, your host. This show invites individuals who have inspirational stories, those who inspire, equip, and empower people like you and myself. Today we have such a person. His name is Frank Lucas. He is a public speaker for addiction recovery. He is a volunteer working with Arise and Flourish. It is a nonprofit organization that fights addiction. Today, if you are addicted, whether it's alcohol or drug, this is a great time for you. You're going to learn from Frank's experience, how he overcame that challenge. Today, he travels around the country inspiring students to overcome addiction. Of course, you may not be addicted, but you and I, we all have setbacks. So we need to learn from Frank's experience to overcome whatever challenges that we have. Frank, thank you very much for coming all the way from Virginia.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate that you are here today to share your experience. I know your story. I was inspired, by the way, by your story and what you're doing to inspire young people to overcome addiction. But my audience, they may not know your story. So do you mind to share with us about where you were before you overcame addiction?
Sure. So tell you a little bit about myself and my addiction. I started drinking when I was 13 years old. By the time I was 15 years old, I had already been arrested. I come from from a household where both my parents were police officers and my mom went to law school. So I always had that positive influence in my life, but the addiction kind of took over all that. By the time I was 18 years old, I had 6 underage possession of alcohols, a DUI. I was in juvie twice, juvenile detention center. I was on house arrest for 6 months. While I was on house arrest, I got kicked out of my high school for drinking, and I was court ordered to go to intensive rehab. So when I was 18, all my problems were related to alcohol. So I needed to take that out of my life. I didn't drink for the next 7 years, but where my addiction took me is that I had to replace the alcohol with something else, and that something else with drugs. So for the next 7 years, I became physically addicted to opiates. And when you're physically addicted to something, it takes over all thought or good morale that you have in your life, and it runs your life. And through those next 7 years, there was a lot of dark places. I had the desire to change, and I got off the hard drugs. But where that addiction picked up again is that I had to replace it with something, and I started drinking again. So when I started drinking again, all those inhibitions went out the window, and I started using hard drugs again. So then it was just a vicious cycle for the next 4 years of drinking and using drugs. By the end of it, I was using intravenous drugs, which is using hypodermic needles and shooting them in to your body. And that's something that I never thought that I would do. But that's where the progressive illness of this disease took me. And I didn't care about anything. And it was a really vicious cycle for 15 plus years that I wanted to break.
Today you are free, you overcame addiction, and you are inspiring students. Tell me about that, what you're doing right now.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to live my life in recovery, and rather than being a part of the problem, I try to be a part of the solution. And I feel like with working with Arise and Flourish, when I go in and speak to these kids, I have an obligation to help them because I was once 15 years old and dependent on drugs and alcohol. So my only hope is that I can speak to these kids and try and prevent them from taking this, the same road that I did and making the decisions that I made. Because what I really try and emphasize with them is that it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're, from law enforcement parents, it doesn't matter. And I thought I was different. I'm not any different from anybody.
So anybody can be a victim of addiction,
Sure.
regardless of their family members, regardless of the environment they may find themselves. Let me ask you about Arise and Flourish. You work with them as a volunteer. Tell me more about what they do. Do they involve in the prevention or in the control side of addiction, or both?
So what we do, I have a friend named Joey who works with Arise and Flourish.
Okay.
And I had seen the things that he was doing, and I was really interested in it. And he approached me wondering if I wanted to be a part of it. And I wanted to do it. You know, I wanted to go into these schools and try and help these kids. And what we do, the approach that we have is, I feel like, completely different from what has been in schools before. What we do is we talk to them as real people. We're not a teacher, we're not a police officer, we're not a DARE officer. We're real people who try and share our experiences with them and talk to them candidly and try and help them understand not just the physical aspect of it, but the mental aspect of addiction and the cycle of it.
When you were addicted, what did you feel? And how did you overcome the challenge? Like, what did you do to actually recover from addiction? So that, you know, if there are any audience members who are watching, so that they could be able to learn from you.
So, in short, I feel that I felt like it physically made me feel good. Mentally, it was a hopeless state of mind. You know, and that physical dependency takes over that mental aspect of right or wrong. And I felt like I was trying to fit in at first, and then it became, you know, a hard life. And what I needed to do was remember the good morals that I do have, and I needed to find the desire to change. And I did have that desire to change, and that's initially what made me want to stop drinking and using. I knew that I needed to quit for a long time before I ever did.
So the desire came from within. So it takes someone to really believe inside that they could be able to overcome addiction or any other challenge.
I feel like that desire to change came from my mother and my friends and my family that cared about me. I didn't want my mother to go through the same things that I watched my grandmother go through with her son, burying her son. I didn't want to go through the same things that I've seen some of my best friends' mother go through. It's because that's what would have happened to me, is that I would have died and my mother would have lived a painful life without me.
So that inspired you, and you felt like you're letting down your mom and your family members who cared about you.
Yes, deep in my heart, I've always felt like I was a good person and I was just doing bad things. Deep in my heart, I've always had that desire to help people, and I wanted to do that, and I couldn't do that to my fullest ability if I was drinking and using drugs. It takes away all that. It takes away all that good morale that you're taught.
Yeah, and also you feel like you're a bad person when you are in that kind of situation. So anyone who is watching, and if they feel like they are bad people because they are addicted, because they are alcoholic, they need to know that there is goodness in them, and they need to really tap into that goodness, saying that, you know, I have these values. I'm a good person, happen to be addicted, and I need to fight for my soul. I need to fight for my goodness. I think that gives energy and passion to overcome addiction.
It does, and today is a completely different way of life. I try and be a good person today. I had this experience yesterday that I'll share with you that was completely unreal to me, because I was talking on the phone with somebody, and I was, just talking about all the positive things that are happening in my life. And it was pouring rain. It was pouring rain. I'm standing outside of the barber shop.
Wow.
pouring rain, the clouds are gloomy, it's dark and black, and I'm literally crying tears of joy because my life is so good today because I'm trying to do the right things. I mean, it was a beautiful moment that I just,
So that's somebody you were talking to. Is he having the same challenges that you had?
yes, it was
Okay.
another person in recovery that I was speaking to, and it was just a very powerful moment to think of where I was.
And where you are today.
when I reflected on it last night, the tears that I used to cry was that I was sitting alone, drinking a bottle of liquor, crying, wondering why I can't stop drinking. And today I get to have these experiences where I'm crying tears of joy because I've gotten through that. And it was a very big moment for me to put that into perspective and just see the change that I have made. And just by me doing the right thing and doing what's right for myself, it helps the others around me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a life worth living is the one that you live for others. And that's what you're doing right now, helping people, dedicating your life to other people so that they
Sure.
may have a better life than you had. I think that's worth living, and I think that's going to inspire. I believe that if there are people watching today who need inspiration, encouragement from others, time is coming for them also to be like you, inspiring others and having that, tear of joy. The time is coming. If they are crying about, the struggle they have, whether it's addiction or any other challenge, time is coming where they're going to have that tear of joy if they keep on moving and fighting.
If it can happen for me, it can happen for anybody.
Exactly.
I was in a hopeless state of mind. And nowadays, I feel like it is so prevalent. Addiction is so prevalent. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people are dying every year.
Wow.
Because
hundreds of thousands every year.
Yes. And
Just in the United States
in
alone.
the United States alone.
It's a huge
And
number.
these are
Good
parents,
people, yeah.
children that are dying. So I feel like it needs to be talked about. I feel like for years it has been brushed under the rug and hush hush, and people are dying because of that. I feel like it is 2018. We need to speak about it.
Publicly,
we need to be honest
in
about it.
schools.
We need to be honest with these students that we talk to and tell them, look, this is what's happening. And if you think you're any different, you're going to die because that's what's happening. And I feel like if I were to use again, I'm going to die.
Tell us 3 things that may help people to overcome addiction, to recover from addiction.
To recover from addiction, I would say that there is hope. There is hope out there. That hopeless state of mind that I keep talking about, it's like there is hope. And there is help. There is a massive amount of help for addiction, but we have to reach out and ask for it. And that's the hardest part, is reaching out and asking for help. But if you reach out and ask for help,
you're going to get help. There
you
are a
have
lot of
help.
people out there. I really enjoyed, discussing with you. We're going to go to a very quick break and we come back again. Our viewers, stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to Pick Yourself Up show. I am Asagid Habtold, your host. We have been talking about how to overcome addictions. In our studio, as you have heard, we have Frank Lucas. He's a public speaker for addiction recovery. We're going to continue to talk about his experiences and if he may have any suggestion. Let's talk about there is an act called Start Talk Maryland Act. This act is a preventive act that asks schools to invest in prevention. Would you mind to tell us a little bit about that?
So with the Start Talk Maryland Act, it's going to be a requirement for all schools in Maryland to provide prevention, drug and alcohol prevention, addiction in schools. And being with the Rise and Flourish and being already established in Montgomery County, speaking to thousands of children this year, we will already be set up in place to do exactly what they need. And I feel like it is a great thing. Like I spoke about earlier about, we have to talk about this. We have to put it on the forefront. We have to put it out there. So I think by Maryland taking this step and doing that is a great step in the right direction. And I feel like, of course, from grades 3 through 12, the dialogue will be a little different how we speak to them, because how I talk to a senior in high school is going to be different how I speak to a child in elementary school. But the idea and the fact that we're going to be doing that, I think is great. And being with the Rise and Flourish and already being set in place, I think it'll align perfectly with this act, and I think it's a great, great opportunity.
When do you think it's going to be implemented? Do you think it's going to be implemented in 2018 or maybe next year?
I believe so. I hope so.
Okay.
To the exact logistics of it, I can't completely say exactly when. But
it's a new thing, so we don't have all the details.
But we're already doing it with the Rise and Flourish, and that's what I think is a great thing, is that we're already doing it. So as soon as they get everything set in place, we can align with them and work together as a community and as a state and start helping these children and these students.
I like, Arise and Flourish taking this proactive step, because the organization is, I think, the only nonprofit organization that focuses on the prevention side of addiction, and they have the experience. They may even support schools in terms of coming up with curriculum, content, even supplying speakers, like yourself. And they have a lot of testimonials from teachers, people who are actually addicted. I think it's not fair to let teachers handle this, because they may not have the experience, the actual experience. And I think schools is for their own advantage if they tap into the already existing system like the Arise and Flourish.
Sure, and I like how you touched on that prevention aspect, because that's really what we focus on. There are countless of recovery organizations that focus on the recovery after addiction, but there's not any that are really focusing on the prevention. And that's what we try and focus on. When we go into these schools and talk to the students, we don't expect all of them not to do drugs. We don't expect all of them not to drink. But if we can go in and share our experiences and just tell them how real it is, if out of a classroom of 30, if I can help 1 or 2 people and prevent them from using drugs and alcohol, or help them understand what's going on with their family members, I feel like that's a good days of work.
Yeah, definitely. Those individuals, they have their own people that they influence, so they're going to reach out and have impact more than themselves. So that's a great strategy. And I like your heart that you are committed even to one person when you go out and help people to recover from addiction. Now, I want to talk about, this show. We try to be a catalyst for change by talking about, how can we overcome challenges? Because in this world, we all have challenges, setbacks. It may not be alcohol or drug, but we need to learn from one another. Your experience as you tackled addiction should help me as I tackle my own challenges. And the audience, I'm sure that they have their own challenges. Let's talk about at least 3 things that you think are very important for people to overcome challenges, to outlast setbacks, from your personal experience and the people that you know.
From my personal experiences, and even in the depths of addiction, I was still a pretty positive person. I mean,
positive, yes.
Even in my depths of addiction, I didn't think it was that bad when it was that bad. So I always tried to have that mindset, and applying that to living a life in recovery is a main focus of me, is being positive. And secondly, just doing the right thing. I've found that when I do the right thing, if I take the right action and consciously make that decision of doing the right thing over of what my thoughts tell me to do, things will be okay. So doing the right thing. And I liked how you what you said before, because how I live my life today and how I can try and help other people, or a suggestion that I can give somebody, is just being positive in negative situations. I've had to deal with this in both my life with addiction and in recovery, of just being positive in negative situations. So I feel like if something negative is happening in your life or my life, we need to find something, sift through
Yeah.
all the stuff and find something positive in that situation.
Even if it is little thing.
Just find
We
something
have to celebrate little wins.
and hold on to that,
Yeah.
and use that as a catalyst to shoot you in the right direction of doing the right thing and staying positive.
I really want to emphasize this part because the people that I study people who overcame challenges. I have studied people who became great, successful. When you see their stories, these were not people who were walking on red carpet. These were people who outlasted setbacks. And one thing that you see in common among these people is attitude, the mindset they have. Even if they are down there in the valley, they think positive things. They keep their mind on the top of the mountain. That's why they could be able to recover, outlast setbacks, and attitude is very important. So from your experience, what kind of things do you think inspired you when you were in the valleys? Like, what kind of things helped you? Okay, now I have these little things that I am happy about or successful about, and they became catalyst for you to. Do you have anything that comes in your mind that helps you to keep your mind? Because it's very hard to keep your mind when you are in the valleys. To remain positive is very challenging.
I feel like what inspired me was seeing others that have overcome it. I come from, generations of addiction, and I've seen family members die from it, and I've seen family members overcome it. And I use that to inspire me and to see other people who are successful, not just, monetarily, but just mentally.
Yeah.
They're successful. They have overcome those struggles. And to be able to see that, I grabbed onto that and I wanted to live. I wanted to live. I used my mother as a big part of me staying sober, and it's I mainly do it for myself. Number one, I have to do it for myself. But secondly, I do it for my family, for my mother, for my friends and family. I can't tell you the amount of people that just by me doing the right thing, who reach out to me through Facebook or email and just wonder, how I did it. Because they know how I was before.
Yeah.
And they see me now. And that right there can inspire others as well. And it's just instead of a vicious cycle of addiction, now it can be a wonderful cycle of inspiration.
I like that. By the way, you mentioned about thinking about the people who overcame, helped you to think positive, to say that if they overcame this, me too, I could do it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that helps me to overcome challenges is I read biographies, people who overcame. And also I associate myself with people like yourself, for example, because I don't want to keep myself with people who failed to overcome. Mm-hmm. Of course, to help them, yes. But if I am already in struggle, and if I am in challenge, for example, in alcohol or any drug addiction, what should happen is I should find people who overcame. I should associate with them because association matters.
And in recovery, and that's exactly how I live my life today, I surround myself with winners. I surround myself with people who have what I want. Mentally, spiritually, physically.
Exactly.
And I feel like if I surround myself with those type of people, if I stay in the middle, I'm not going to fall off the edge. And that's how I try and live my life today.
Exactly. So people should pay attention to the people who overcame the challenges they are facing right now and find their stories, read about them, be friend with them, talk to them, because when you are in a very difficult spot, what you need is people who already overcame that. That's going to help you to think positive, to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's going to inspire you to overcome challenges. Let's talk about your future. In 5 years, for example, where do you see yourself?
You know, I feel like that's almost a tough one, but in short, I want to be helping people.
Okay.
You know, I want to be helping people and empowering other people, improving my life while improving the lives that are around me, trying to be positive in every situation. I would love to continue to do what I'm doing with Arise and Flourish, and you know, hope that opportunities present themselves, because if it's something that I could continue to be doing where I could be helping people and doing something that I love, that I feel a purpose in life, I feel like that's great. You know, I feel like it would be an amazing thing. But honestly, I just want to be sober and happy, you know, and just okay with myself, which I am today.
Yeah, so you're going to continue to help people who want to recover. So do you plan to go outside of the school circle, for example, to go to the general public, to go to, let's say, around the country in the future, when you have the time and the energy and the resources?
Presented themselves, I would love to. I feel like through my life, I have been through a lot of struggles, to where I feel like I could help a lot of people just by being myself and just sharing my experiences with other people. I would love to do that. And of course, we always search for that financial security in the future. But I feel like if I just take care of myself and just keep doing what I'm doing and doing the right thing, that'll slip away, and I will be taken care of tenfold.
By the way, I like your attitude on this one, because we need to pursue our passion, what matters to us, and finance and other resources gonna follow. Mm-hmm. So we don't need to chase finances. We need to really chase our passion and our cause, and other things gonna come as we pursue our passion. So you are on the right track. I wish you good luck. But people who want to talk to you or Arise and Flourish, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can always reach myself or Arise and Flourish at ariseandflourish.org. You can email me at flucas@ariseandflourish.org. If you would like some opportunities to volunteer or help out with our organization, we're on Facebook. I personally am on Facebook. My phone and my email and my Facebook is always open to help another person.
Thank you very much on behalf of our viewers. I really appreciate for you coming here, sharing your stories, and for what you do, helping these young people. They are the future of the country and the world, and you're doing a very fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear our viewers, we are done today, but I look forward to our next program. Until then, have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for watching.